Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ashley and it's Monday, which means it's Mental Health Monday. So today I am filming the dreaded video. So I'm gonna be sharing my backstory with you guys. I know that I could just not share it, but if you watched the welcome video, then you'll know that I am sharing this video because I do strongly care about mental health. I want you guys to understand my perspective and why this is so important to me, and maybe why I'm so passionate about helping, but also the experiences that I had in case you guys are going through them. So I do want to try and interview at least one person a month about their experiences growing up, and not just growing up, just any big experiences they've had in life and how they got through those tough times, maybe trying to help you guys. But I feel like it wouldn't be fair to ask someone to open up like that without opening up myself. So I thought I'd start this whole thing with my story. So if you want to hear about that, stay tuned. All right.
Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a professional. I have been a patient and I have worked in psych, but I am not by any means a professional. Also, a trigger warning. Today we're going to talk about some sensitive topics, so things to watch out for is suicidal ideation, depression, some physical and verbal abuse. I think that covers everything. We don't go too into detail about anything, but just wanted to put a trigger warning out there for you guys. Okay, carry on.
First of all, do you recognize this outfit? I'm filming this immediately after the welcome video because I filmed this video about 5 million times, and every single time I do, I hate it because I either cry or I give too many details or I don't explain well enough, so it just sounds like I'm just like a whiny brat. I just don't know. This has been very hard for me, and like every time I do share the story, even though these are things that have happened in the past and I've moved on from them, it does affect my mood for a couple days. So this is the last time I'm gonna try and film it. I'm gonna try and make it short and sweet. I'm gonna try and make it painless for you guys, and hopefully you guys can understand me better, and hopefully I have some sort of information that's helpful for you guys. So, backstory. Why don't we start from the beginning? I was born in Jamaica and I lived there with my mom, and like my entire family is from Jamaica, even my dad, everyone. So I lived there with my mom at first, and my dad was living in the US at that time. So eventually I moved to the US with my dad, and what I didn't know is that he was dating someone else, so my stepmom, and he had another kid, so my half-sister. So like that was a surprise to me when I got to the US, but like it wasn't a big deal. I was always a super friendly like kid, and it was easy for me to adapt to any situation. So I really just didn't mind, but I didn't know it was a secret. But I don't think my mom knew all of that was going on, but like that's not the point. So I got to the US, and it was just a big change. Like I came from Jamaica, and in Jamaica you think of the US, you think like this place, this land of hopes and dreams. So it was a big deal for me. I was excited to go, but I not only moved to the US, but I moved to Wisconsin. So imagine going from a country where people speak, it's not really a different language. It's called Patois, so it's almost like a dialect of English. Or otherwise, I think the official language is British English. Don't quote me on that. I should know. That's my home, but I left when I was like 4. Anyways, not the point of the story. So just imagine leaving this country that is so completely different to go to a different country that's like the complete opposite of where you came from. And not only that, but like Wisconsin, there ain't shit out here but cows, farms, and white people. And there ain't nothing wrong with white people. But where I was living, I was one of very few that were not white. So it was just like a big change for me, So, but I think I adapted quickly. I think a skill that I had was, like I said, just being able to mesh in any environment. So it was pretty quick that I kind of got rid of my accent. I started copying how other kids would talk. I kind of made myself fit, and nobody made me feel like I had to. Like, no one at school was mean to me or anything like that, but for whatever reason, it was like my natural reaction to just mold to my environment and keep my head down, draw as little attention as possible. But for whatever reason, things just were tense at home. I was realizing that there seemed to be a huge difference between how I felt like my dad treated me and how he treated my sister. And my sister wasn't really mean to me at that time, and you know, my stepmom wasn't mean. It was just my dad, which made me feel weird because, I mean, he was the only one that was like related to me or, you know, had any sort of obligation to be kind to me. So I being that young, didn't understand why. I didn't even understand if it was like really happening or if it was just in my head, you know. So I think that definitely created some insecurities in me, and especially like being in this new place where you already feel out of place because you're so different than everyone else, and so you think that you can, you know, have your family to fall back on because at least you're safe there. But like, I didn't have that. Like, I didn't feel comfortable in that house. I didn't feel like really part of the family, even from a really young age. But like, I didn't identify that feeling as that. It just like, I just knew I felt different, and not the kind of different that was appreciated. I think that my dad really wanted me to fall in line and be a certain way, and I just wasn't that person, and I think that bred a lot of resentment. Or maybe I reminded of someone or my mom or something. I have no idea. I can't speak for him, but I just knew that I felt like I didn't belong there. So, yeah, differences that I noticed is that like I felt like I was getting yelled at a lot more. I felt like anything that my sister said was believed and anything that I said was questioned. And I guess you could say like, I just feel like I didn't lie a lot as a kid. I remember him always calling me a liar, but my dad, instilled a lot of things in me and said a lot of things to me that weren't true, that like I'd convinced myself of because I'd heard it so much. So I don't even know, like, did I lie a lot as a kid, or did he just say that to make me put me down, you know? And like, he used to say I hit my sister all the time. I don't remember doing that. I mean, there's a good chance it was true. Like, I don't know, siblings hit each other. I mean, they shouldn't, but like, I've heard of that. But like, I don't recall doing that sort of stuff, you know? So it's just like, already I had a very warped self-image. Like, I had no idea what I was really like because I felt like I was trying really hard to like be good, but I was always being told I was bad, and that kind of just like messed with me. So I don't know, like I said, differences between how I felt like my sister was treated and how I was treated, like physical punishment as well. Like, I feel like I never saw her get spanked or beat or anything like that, but if I did anything, or even if I was just aggravating, if I was being too loud, or if I said a lie about something, then I would get beat, you know, with the belt, which I understand is just like discipline in some families, but it just was frustrating to me because it's not like only my dad did that to me, you know. My mom did that when I was living in Jamaica. That was normal there, you know, but like, it was just the fact that it was done to me but not to anyone else in the house. So it just made me feel like, why? Like, I didn't understand. And I don't know, these feelings just kind of continued as I got older, of like just feeling out of place, like I don't belong here. And then I don't know, the arguments would get worse about silly things, especially things really started to get bad when my stepmom started leaving for work. I think it was for work. She would take trips. So this was before. So she has a job where she travels for work now. And I think this was before that, but for whatever reason, she was gone. And that was the first like major incident with my dad. And then after that incident, it was like every 6 months there was a big blowout. So basically what happened that time was that my stepmom was gone, and I had a habit of accidentally sending my dad text messages that weren't meant for him, and it always got me in trouble. And for whatever, my dumb little self didn't ever seem to learn from that. So I was in my room and my dad had called me out to the living room to come get the house phone and was sitting on the side table next to him on the couch. And I was all the way in my bedroom. Like, it was literally like 5 feet away from him. And so, like, being an agitated, like, 13-year-old, I was just annoyed. I mean, my dad was one of those parents that call you for everything. Like, get me a beer, grab this, do that, whatever, which I get. I'm not a parent. I'm sure as some of you as parents, you're like, yeah, whatever, that's what you have kids for. But, like, it just really made me irritated. I was like, why? Like, it's annoying. Like, So I texted my stepmom, especially because, like, I was always someone who's like, you want something done, get it done yourself, even from that young, mostly because I didn't trust anybody. So, like, if I needed to get something done, or if I, you know, felt a certain way, I kept it to myself and I took care of it myself. So, like, I saw that as just, like, agitating to me, because, like, whatever, it's not even the point. It's not even the point here. So anyways, I texted my stepmom and I was like, and it wasn't nice. I wasn't nice about it. I was like, oh, he's so lazy. Like, he's literally sitting here in the living room, and he called me all the way from my room to get the phone that was sitting right next to him. And I didn't send it to my stepmom. I sent it to my dad, and he went off. So, like, that was the first time that things got really bad and, like, super physical, and not in, like, a spanking sense. So I think, I don't know, that kind of, like, started something. Like, after that, it would be, like I said, every 6 months over something else similar. I don't know where that anger towards me came from, because, like I said, it had been ongoing for a long time. Maybe not in that necessarily, like, direct of a form, but, like, there's always been a difference in the way that I was treated versus the rest of the family. So it just felt like anytime something was wrong, I got the brunt of it. Like, I was always the problem. I was the scapegoat. I was the black sheep of the family. And so yeah, that incident happened, and then there was an incident where, you know, I didn't take out the recycling, and it escalated to the point where it got physical, and he made me, like, stay home from school because he was gonna, like, call social services, would it be, and try and get me, like, out of the house and stuff like that. It was just happening all the time. And you can imagine that just takes a toll on you, because not only did he get physical with me and then say really mean things to me, and make it obvious he didn't want me around, but then in the same breath, he wouldn't let me leave the house. You know, he would always say, you don't care about your family, you don't spend time with your family, all you care about is your stupid friends. But then I was like, okay, but you don't even like me. So it was just, like, a lot of very conflicting stuff, and, like, anytime anything would happen, he'd go in his room, and it was right across from my room that I shared with my sister at the time, and he'd sit on the phone and he'd call all of our relatives, people I didn't even know, and he'd be like, guess what this bitch Ashley did now? Like, this child is so horrible and blah, blah, blah. And I'd sit there and he'd talk super loud to make sure that I heard it. Like, and he'd just, like, berate me to people. And nobody said anything, you know? Like, I feel like my stepmom didn't defend me. And I think that, you know, especially after the whole text incident, she just didn't want to get in trouble. It just seemed like associating with me would get her into trouble too. And I think it was just, I'm sure she didn't want to deal with it, you know, and he was just very good at framing things to always make me be the bad guy. And I'm not saying I never did anything wrong. Like, I did plenty of things, you know, stupid things. And I don't know, it's just one of those kids that, like, I didn't mean to be bad. Like, my intentions usually weren't bad. I was just, like, I just didn't seem to know how to do anything right. I was just confused. So yeah, it really just, like, messed with my head. I had no understanding of who I was. I was always trying to put it together. I was always trying to understand, am I good or am I bad? Because, like, I in school and with friends, I didn't have any issues, but when I was home, I was always in trouble. I was always bad, and I just didn't understand, and it just like messed with me. Like I had no idea who I was because I thought I was this person, and he thought I was this person, and nobody disagreed with him and nobody agreed with me, you know, nobody said anything. So like I just couldn't gauge what was real and what wasn't. It really started to mess with my head. So yeah, I really started spending more time with friends, not really wanting to interact with my family. But like I said, like he would berate me and put me down and like basically tell me he didn't want me and that he regretted bringing me here. But then he wouldn't let me go anywhere. Like he didn't want me to hang out with my friends. He didn't want me to leave the house because he didn't want me to have the satisfaction of doing something, you know, fun or like getting out. Like it was almost like he wanted to just make sure I stayed under his thumb. Like I just felt like a punching bag, and maybe that's not what it was, but that's how I felt. And as I got older, things just seemed to get worse because I started to care less. Like when I was younger, I was a pretty good kid, you know, I had my hang-ups, but it wasn't really stuff that I did that was bad. It was just issues, like things that I'm not comfortable sharing with the whole internet. But there were some things that I did that like I feel like if you understand mental health, then you should know that it was because of trauma and it was stuff that I was too young to understand. And instead of, you know, seeing that and I guess addressing that and getting help about those things, I think he was just like disgusted by me or like angry at me because like, why do you do these things? And instead of like realizing that there's some going on here, because you know, Jamaica, a lot of things happen in Jamaica, and I was young. I don't remember a lot of things, and I don't know. Like I said, I just don't really want to get into anything on the internet. And like, it wasn't anything with my mom or anything like that. My mom was amazing. My family was amazing. But it's just like, there's obviously some pieces missing. And I do feel like they kind of let me down in the sense that nobody addressed that. Like, I just got worse and worse and worse. And then the added physical abuse and the verbal abuse, just like, I just kind of lost it, you know? So 5th and 6th grade is when I started to get extremely suicidal. Like, I would spend all day, every day, just fantasizing about dying. And it became like a comfort to me to have that in my back pocket. Like, a lot of people, you know, feel bad when they start feeling suicidal, but I started, like, it was like security blanket. Like, well, at least I have that out. I have that escape hatch. And I started self-harming. It wasn't anything major. I think it was definitely more attention-seeking than anything. Not necessarily that I wanted my parents to see it, because I was kind of scared of what their reaction would be, but more or less just like I wanted someone to see it. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to happen. So there are a couple incidents where CPS reports were filed and things like that happened. I'm just like, it was just a lot of like really, really bad things that just made me feel so lost. So as I got older, and mind you, I wasn't addressing or understanding these things. So I wasn't getting any help, and I wasn't acknowledging that these feelings were real. It was just kind of like, why do I feel this? I don't want to talk about it. So I kind of dealt with it all alone. I didn't even tell really anyone, because honestly, like, it felt like anytime I tried to say anything, it became my fault. So I didn't even feel like I could tell my parents that I felt that way, because I felt like, you know, it's kind of like that girlfriend where it's just like, you tell her you love her, and she's just like, why? What'd you do? What'd you do wrong? They assume they assume that anything you say or do, like, is a hidden meaning because you just did something wrong. It was like that. So I felt like I couldn't tell them that I was like feeling these sad, like, scary feelings, because I felt like they would be like, well, what'd you do? Why do you feel that way? You must have done something, otherwise you wouldn't feel that way. And that really honestly wasn't the case. So as I got older, like I said, these feelings started to get stronger. I was continuing to not really acknowledge them, trying to kind of push them off. And then I did what a lot of girls do, and I started looking for validation through guys. So I downloaded an app because most of my life my phone was taken away. I got one when I was young, but it was just a carrot to dangle in my face. Like, that thing was almost never with me. So when it got taken away, I had bought an iPod through a friend, and I was talking to random people online, and I had no interest in these people. You know, I was just lonely. Like, I felt like I had no one. I couldn't talk to my friends, and my family didn't like me. Like, I got along with my sister at the time, but it was just like I didn't trust her, you know. So yeah, so I started talking to random people online, and you kind of know how that goes. Like, you're a young girl, and it's mostly weird old guys that you're talking to, and it just like it's happens so fast, especially when like, it sounds stupid, but you're really naive. Like, you don't understand what that world's about. So you're just like talking to people thinking that, you know, it's better than being alone, and then they tell you everything that you need to hear because you have low self-esteem and you need that validation, and then all of a sudden, boom, nudes on the internet. So I guess that's kind of what happened, and my sister found the iPod and gave it to my parents, and they obviously found out about the photos that I was sending. So that didn't end well. My dad just kind of like flipped on me, you know, and I mean, it happened so many times before, but like, for me, it was just like the final straw. It was like, I can't come back from this. Like, all these little things I've done, like, I've always known I was not wrong, you know, like going off on me and like getting physical with me because my alarm clock didn't go off because I didn't take the recycling out, or because you thought that I took money. Well, he didn't get physical with me that time, but he did threaten me because he thought that I'd taken money that was sitting on, or thrown out an envelope that had money that was on the counter, and I never had it, you know? So like, all of those things I could justify myself because I was like, oh, well, I didn't do anything wrong. But in this situation, it was like, okay, well, now that I have done something, like, I'm not gonna recover. Like, he reacted like that when it wasn't my fault. Like, there's no way I'm coming back from this. Like, nobody in the family likes me at this point, you know? And I had already been through the ringer so many times with the whole, I'm kicking you out, like, pack your shit, and I'd sleep in the hallway, and nobody would talk to me except for, like, my little brother. So, like, having that happen, like, over and over, you just kind of get to a point where it's like, I just don't even care. Like, there's nothing I can do. I can't, like, I can try to be good, but it's not going to be good enough. Like, I started to just, like, really think negatively, and like, I felt very hopeless. So I know that he kind of spins this narrative, and I'm sure a lot of you will see it that way too, where, you know, I overdosed that night, and the narrative I think that he likes to share is that I did it because I was in trouble, but really it was just like a culmination of all of these things that I just like, look, I barely bounced back. All the other times, it's like, this one I really messed up, so there's no way. Like, there's just no point. He's never gonna forgive me, and what am I supposed to do? Just stay in this house and just like be their little punching bag forever? So I overdosed, and I went to sleep, and I woke up because I started vomiting up the pills that I had taken. And I remember him yelling at me and telling me, like, you're doing this for attention, because I was puking. And my stepmom came out to see if I was okay. And I showed her the note that I had written, and she went to call the ambulance. And I remember him yelling, like, that to let me die, and then if I wanted to die, and telling her not to call 911. I remember getting in the ambulance and them not having my note. I remember the paramedics being really mean to me and judgmental to me because they thought that I was just another bratty kid who overdosed because they got in trouble, you know? Like, they didn't know my side of the story. They didn't know how long this stuff has been going on. They didn't know what I was dealing with. And people will look down on you for the choices that you make, which is like, this is why I feel like mental health and like understanding how these things affect you is so important, because like we are so mean and we're so judgmental to each other, but you have no idea like what people are going through or why they make the choices they do. So I went to treatment, and while I was in treatment, I thought that I would be taken out of the house and that I was going to go live with my uncle. And long story short, I got surprise discharged. They didn't tell me that I was discharging until my ride was there. And my ride was my uncle, so I was thinking I was going to go live with him, and they sent me back home. And then I got home, and like the puke from that night was still sitting on the floor, and my dad was like, go clean it up. And then I like had to sleep on the floor in my brother's room. And like, mind you, through all of this, like the only person that I felt like I had for support was my little brother. Cause like, he was too young to like pick a side. Like, I came back, my sister wasn't talking to me. My stepmom like wasn't mean, but she just like, I think she just didn't want to be involved, you know? And like, obviously my dad hated me, and I was so alone, and all I had was like my little brother. And I feel like it was just because he was too young to like understand to pick a side. But like, honestly, if it wasn't for him and for this teacher that I had in school, like, I don't believe that I would be alive today, because they really like were the biggest support system I had. Like, I talked to my guidance counselors at school, but I could only tell them so much because I was so scared that like, you know, CPS reports had been made before, but you want to know what happens when you report like things that are happening to you? They run and they tell your parents, the people that you, you know, like, I mean, I never made a report myself, but I know that reports were made. So, and the reason I know is because they'd obviously talk to me, but then my dad would say like, oh, you know, someone contacted CPS, and he would talk to me and be like, why, blah, 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 like upset with me. And I'd be like, I didn't even know anything about it. So that kind of let me know like I'm not even safe to like reach out and ask for help. So all of these things, it was just all of that and so much more, but like it just kind of gives you the basic understanding. And just so you guys know, like I don't know what he's been through for why he's like that, and I know that there's a lot of people in my family who probably won't see it the way that I saw it, and are always gonna think that I was just bad and I was just trouble. But like, I'm not trying to blame anything on him. I am just trying to explain like how these things affected me, because there were good things too. Like, he did take care of me. Like, I always had clean clothes, like, I always had food, I had like, you know, somewhere to live, so my needs were met. It's not like I was like severely neglected or anything, but it was just like extreme psychological damage. And I mean, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of just like blatant, I'm sorry, but blatant abuse, and like no one saw it. Like, or if they saw it, they turned a blind eye because no one wanted to be involved. And it really skewed my perception of reality. I still struggle with that to this day. Like, I still struggle to understand, like, when I'm right or when I'm overreacting. I, like, will blame myself for things because, you know, if people get mad at me, like, I'm just used to, you know, like, oh, it's your fault. So then I try and think like, okay, take accountability. Like, maybe I did do something, because maybe that's why all of that happened, because I didn't take enough accountability for the things I did. But ultimately, it's just like, a lot of those things weren't my fault. And I didn't realize that or have anyone to really tell me that until I got out of the house and I started going to treatment and therapy on my own. So I guess the point of all of this is that, like, my upbringing upbringing sucked, and I feel like I went through a lot of it alone. But I am doing okay now. Like, I'm a lot happier now than I was back then, and I didn't ever think that was going to be a possibility. Like, I never thought that I would ever get out of that situation. Like, I always thought that, like, I was going to be trapped there. And yes, it has left a lot of, like, long-term issues. Like, there's a lot of things that I still, like, struggle with as far as, like, self-esteem and, like, you know, relationships and boundaries and things like that. So there's a lot of things that are still hard because of that. But I, in a way, I'm also really glad all of that happened, because I feel like it made me really empathetic and, like, understanding of other people in their situations, and so much less judgmental, and, like, such a big advocate for kids and, like, their rights and their safety. And even, like, him, like, I don't want anything bad for him, and I know it probably doesn't seem that way, because it seems like I just spent 30 minutes bashing him, but it's just, stay away from me. But I hope that he's doing well. Like, I don't speak to him really, and I hope that everyone is doing well. Like, it's definitely, it's affected the way I think, in the fact that I said, like, I will blame myself for everything, but, like, also it has helped me put myself in other people's shoes. Like, I can really step back from a situation and try and understand how someone feels in that. Oh my god, my makeup is horrible now because I'm gonna have streaks. How someone feels in that situation, because all of that taught me to analyze, overanalyze everything, to watch every move, to know, like, oh, he sat down this certain way, or he, you know, said it in this tone of voice, so, like, watch out for this and that, you know. So it sucks that I developed that as ways to protect myself or know what to look out for, but also it has helped me so much with helping others and, like, being able to read their body language and, you know, help people feel understood about the things that you feel like you can't talk about and the things you can't explain. So in a way, I am thankful for all of that, because I don't think that I'd have the capacity to have the level of empathy that I have if that hadn't happened. And all of that taught me to work hard, be independent, not rely on other people. It also damaged the way I see things, because, I mean, it's not good to not trust. It's not good to, like, worry that everyone's gonna leave, but it's also good to have that independence and be able to do things on your own. So the things that helped me get through those times, making a plan, like, trying to figure out, how am I gonna get out of here? Like, I mean, I got a job as early as I could. I sucked at saving money, so it didn't help. But, like, I got a job as early as I could. I was so focused on doing well in school. Like, I was planning to escape, you know? Like, it made me, like, that kind of helped me through it, knowing, you know, like, this is not forever. Just remember that whatever shitty situation you're going through right now is not forever. I promise you, it's not forever. And just, like, focus on things that and people that you love and make you feel loved. And just remember that, like, no matter how bad things are right now, they're not gonna stay that way. So yeah, that is my story. I'm sorry that it was all over the place. And I mean, there's a lot more to it because it didn't end at 18, but I feel like that's all that I want to share. And I hope that was enough to kind of get you guys a picture of, like, why this is so important to me and why I'm doing this. And I mean, a little bit about who I am and why I am that way. So if nothing else, I hope it helps some of you feel a little less alone. So from now on, no more about me. No more about all my crazy little problems. I promise. I mean, I'm sure there will be times where I'm talking about, like, certain mental health topics that I can relate to things, so I'll probably, like, share things that relate, but that's it as far as, like, growing up and all the craziness that went on and all of that. I don't want this to be centered around, like, oh, look at how horrible my life was, because, I mean, there were good moments too. There were good, you know, nothing's all bad, but I just wanted you guys to kind of understand where I'm coming from and help you guys understand that like you're not alone and that things can get better. So going forward, we're gonna focus on self-improvement and things that you guys can do to help yourself and things that other people have done to help themselves in out of their situations that weren't so great, or you know, things that changed or shaped their lives in different ways. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope it was helpful or useful or something. And I hope that I'll see you guys next Monday or Friday. All right, see you guys next time. Bye.